Hello and welcome to Chit Chat and All That with me, Amanda Prowse.
And me, Penny Dommett. Thank you for joining us for your weekly dose of chatter. We'll be talking about all the things that we usually discuss around the kitchen table.
A diverse range of topics that we hope will give you a chuckle-worthy moment or maybe something to reflect on. And you can, of course, catch up on all previous episodes from wherever you get your podcasts.
So yes, please give us a like, press the subscribe and follow button. Subscribe. Pull up a chair. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Do you think it'll ever get less funny, you trying to say that word?
No. I think I might just not say it. I'm just going to say...
You're going to go on strike.
Follow us. Can I say strike? I can say strike. Anyone would think I'd had a couple of vodkas before we do this. And, we never... I mean, coffee, and that's about it.
We do actually record early in the morning. So,
yes.
So we're very sort of... I don't know, maybe we're not awake yet, Pen. What do you think?
Perhaps we should do it later at night when we're sort of a whole different vibe.
Wonder what a 3:15 record might look like.
Ooh.
Hello.
Bit of tea.
I'm thinking scone. See, that's where my mind goes instantly. Or do you say scone?
Should I dress like a scone?
You largely do, darling. So that will be okay. How's your week been?
It's been very good, actually. Very productive. Very busy.
Mm-hmm.
Things are beginning to calm down a little bit.
Are the brides all, coming in for their flowers?
We're into high bride season.
Uh-huh.
High bride season.
What's the most stressed? Do brides still get stressed and overwhelmed, or are they all quite calm? Or?
That was what finished me off, actually. I used to do weddings. I used to do wedding flowers myself and actually do all the arrangements, all the bouquets. But I went to this one wedding. I had been up literally doing an all-nighter because I like to do things myself. Have I told you I'm a control freak?
I thought you meant raving.
No,
okay.
Actually doing the flowers for the wedding. She had 8 bridesmaids.
Wow.
Everyone had...
I haven't got 8 friends.
8 bridesmaids. Lovely bouquet for her. She had 10 corsages for all the women in the family. She had 15 buttonholes.
Flipper-dipper.
2 huge churn arrangements. A massive arrangement for the signing of the register. You're getting the idea.
I'm getting it, Pen.
And I'd been up all night. So I thought, right, had to be there for 12 o'clock. Off I went with all of these bouquets ready for the brides and the bride and the bridesmaids. I was met at the door by the bride in her full kit with a clipboard. Come in, she said, put them down there. I went, no, you don't understand. I need to explain to you what you have in your bouquets and how to hold them.
Yeah.
And she went, no, it is not time for anyone to touch the flowers.
What?
Yes. She had a timesheet and the bridesmaids were all excited. They wanted to pick them up. And she went, no, don't touch those. It's not the right time.
Oh, my gosh.
This was obviously her way.
When was the right time? Do you know?
Precisely. So I said, no, I need to show you how to hold them. And,
Yeah.
I was trying to be calm, but it finished it for me.
Yeah.
Because I thought, no, I can't deal with people who are treating this day, which should be filled with love and,
Spontaneity.
Yes, and sort of this is the way that they will be spending the rest of their lives.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully.
I think she's got a clipboard for every occasion.
Probably.
Kind of guessing.
Probably. So I thought, no, I'm not enjoying this.
No.
So that finished me off, really. So brides these days, if I ever do a wedding now, it's because I know them or they're family friends or something like that. And it's a very different vibe.
Yeah, totally.
Very different vibe.
It's funny, isn't it? Some of the best weddings you go to, I find, don't go to many, go to more funerals at the moment, but the best weddings I go to are the ones where it's very casual. Please don't snort, dog. Honestly, we can cope with snoring, but the snorting dog, that's a whole other noise, isn't it? Look,
as long as it's coming out of that
she's on the trail of a biscuit, aren't you? I don't have anything. This is this age-old problem we have. Because I'm sat at a table, she thinks I'm enjoying food and therefore wants some of it.
Oh.
Because she can't see above my ankle.
I've sat at this table for many a week now, not allowed to chomp on custard creams, ever.
Exactly.
Ever.
I have nothing.
Where were we?
I was saying that I think some of the best weddings I've been to have been the most laid back, or where something disastrous happens, or, the band doesn't turn up and you end up all, lobbing your playlist on your iPhone or whatever. All those sort of things you have to overcome, and it's just funny. And it's that element of you can't plan it. And those that are planned down to the T, I don't know, it feels like more of a corporate do, very regimented.
The best wedding I have ever been to was when weddings were first allowed to be started again after COVID.
I thought you were going to say when weddings were first allowed. It was way back in the 14th century. I know you're old, Pen, but...
Literally, there was only allowed to be 30 people at the wedding.
Nice, yeah.
And do you know, it was the loveliest wedding because you got to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
The bride and groom were sharing jokes with us all at the same time.
Yeah, lovely.
It was really intimate.
I went to a
special.
lovely wedding and they had a picnic.
Oh, what a lovely idea.
I know. And the weather wasn't amazing, but it didn't matter. It wasn't sort of, it wasn't like a scene from Persuasion, you know, bathed in sunshine and everyone in bonnets. That was just me in my bonnet and my crook. But no, it was really lovely. It was very laid back and everyone just had a bit of a picnic and a chat and were just laying in the sun. And I thought, I'm not being funny, but this is their day off work. This is their Saturday. And the fact that they haven't felt overly stressed by it and no one's had to overly dress up, just have a sandwich and sit on a blanket, lovely.
Do you know, at the moment, it's quite fashionable to have a wedding in a forest.
Oh,
Have you seen them?
No.
Oh,
you'd love that with your dendrophilia.
Oh, my goodness me. I can't remember where they are, and it's classed as a venue, and they set up trestle tables through the forest, and they have all these candles and...
I'm seeing fire hazard, Pen. I'm seeing a big fire hazard.
Absolutely beautiful. I mean, I know our weather doesn't exactly lend itself to this sort of thing.
Have you ever thought of training as a meteorologist, just going off at an angle? Just that you do seem a little bit obsessed with it.
Well, I just think, but as you said, as long as you're dressed for it, it doesn't matter.
No such thing as bad weather. Yeah.
Just badly dressed.
Sorry, so back to your forest weddings.
Don't you think that would be so amazing to sit with fairy lights going through the trees? Oh, that for me would be amazing.
I think it kind of depends. I don't know. It might be a bit... See, sometimes I think, how can I say...
Blair Witch Project.
Oh, God, I've never seen that. I couldn't. I'd poo my pants, which I do infrequently anyway. But I think sometimes, I don't know, if you try too hard, it's like, have you been to a wedding and it's all been very vintage, but it's like trying too hard. So we all have to...
The pile of suitcases.
Exactly. And,
I can never see the point.
Yeah, and we're not giving you a plate. You have to eat off a roof tile.
Yes.
And unless you have a waxed moustache, women included, you are not on the dance floor.
No.
You know, and tweed is to be encouraged.
Yes.
I find it all a bit, I don't know, a bit forced.
Well, and also the amount of money people spend on these extras, like they have to have a donut.
I thought you meant extras as in like, you know, a supporting cast.
No.
Ricky Gervais and his mate stood at the back going, yes, I've known her for years.
You know, they have to have a donut wall.
Oh, bloody what?
A donut wall.
I want a donut wall. I'm not getting married, but I want a donut wall.
And then they have a sweet trolley.
I want that too.
Yes.
What do you mean a sweet? What, like puddings, or do you mean sweeties?
No, like literally glass jars full of humbugs.
Oh.
Or,
Bar.
or jelly babies or whatever. They have to have that.
Oh, so you could only go first, couldn't you? Because you couldn't go and put your hands in where...
I wouldn't be able to share.
No.
I mean, I had trouble with the donut wall. Because I was thinking, who's touched that donut before they put it back on there?
Well, how does it work, a donut wall?
It looks a bit, you know, like hoopla.
I do.
It looks
because I am a child of the Victorian era.
Exactly.
When I'm not running down the road with my whip and my, what was it called? A whip and a... Was it a whip? No. Hoop. A whip.
It wasn't a whip.
That's a whole other day.
A stick, wasn't it?
Stick and a hoop, yeah. Or we used to play with an old tyre where I was from. Yeah.
We didn't have football. We just had to roll up paper.
Pig bladder. Henry VIII style. Sorry, Pen. Hoopla. Yes, I do know hoopla.
A bit like dowels sticking out of the wall.
Yeah.
And then they would have different flavours of donuts on each stick.
See, I'm quite disappointed because when you say donut wall, I'm envisaging sort of something plastered with dough and you just cut into it. You're actually telling me it's just a donut on a stick.
Yes, on the wall.
Placed by someone's hands.
By someone's hands. What else? Oh, there's all sorts of things like they provide flip-flops in case people's feet hurt at the end of the wedding.
Oh, that's quite clever.
It is. They provide blankets.
Assuming one is wearing heels.
Yes. Blankets in case you get cold.
Oh, I like that.
When you go into the toilets, there are baskets of toiletries.
To nick?
Well, that probably quite often happens at weddings as well.
Does if you go.
But all sorts of things like deodorant and perfume and
hello.
Yeah, toothpicks and things like that. I mean, honestly, the thought and the preparation that goes into weddings these days, you would be stunned.
I think I would be.
I mean, forget the flowers. I mean, that is just incidental to most people. What gets me is you get this bride, so you have this meeting. I mean, you'd wonder why I do this job.
Yes.
So you have a meeting and they're going, yes. Oh, so my amazing Gucci dress is £6,000.
What, for a dress?
And the venue is £25,000, not including catering. Oh my goodness, yeah.
Did you, just circling back a bit, as the kids say, did you say not including catering?
Oh, not including the food.
I am
just for the
so
venue.
out of touch, Pen.
Oh, and some of the venues are absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm due to do one shortly in a venue that I have to say is an incredibly old Elizabethan manor, and it is really, really beautiful. Very intimate, very lovely. People are lovely too. But you would not believe the amount of money. And then they say to me, oh, so we want to spend £3.50 on the flowers. Can you provide us with a hydrangea wall, 3 different deconstructed arches, and 16 bouquets, please?
You know why they spent all their money on them donuts?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, give me a room filled with flowers and nothing else. And
Yeah.
that to me
People
would
you
be-
love.
Yeah.
Flowers, cheese and pickle sandwich,
Yeah.
glass of cider,
Yeah.
bit of a dance around the table.
But are we just old-fashioned?
Or just old.
Yeah, just
Dunno,
old,
Pen.
actually.
Or tight. Maybe we're all of those things. I don't know. I just feel, I mean, I'm not one of those people. I know we've discussed weddings before and we've discussed bridery before. Bridery. But I just think, I don't know, you can try too hard. And I just want it to be more, it sounds like I'm planning my own wedding. I'm not. I'm very happily married.
But I'm still waiting to be a matron of honour.
Yeah, I can see you. I think if you were my matron of honour, I think maybe I'd like you to have like a dyed sheep to match your frock and maybe a dove to release and maybe like a crinoline lady. You know the ones that go in your nan's loo roll?
Yes.
That knitted cover.
Yeah.
I'd like to model your outfit on that.
Well, the other thing is as
I
well.
think you look lovely.
The other thing I just do not get, hen parties. I just don't get it.
Do you know what I know something? I've only been to one hen party in my whole life and it was the most terrible event of my life.
They're so scary.
It was awful.
So scary.
This was years ago, I mean, decades and decades ago. And when I was living in London, and we went to this very fancy restaurant in Chelsea. And in the basement, it was sort of I don't know what to describe it. It was like a nice restaurant. But it had like,
Basement. Shackles.
No wonder I didn't enjoy it.
And a stretching torture machine.
Weirder than that, they had a stag do on one side and a hen do on the other.
What do you mean on the other side of the room?
Yeah, so it was like a long trestle
Was
table.
it an escape room?
No, this is like in the 80s or 90s. It was like way before that was a thing, before people had too much time on their hands and trying to think of ways to spend a Sunday with the kids. No, it was really weird. It was sort of a restaurant set out for, I suppose, a bit more banquety downstairs. But literally there was a stag do and then we were at the hen do. And I just remember, and I've always been, I know I come across as quite confident. I'm actually quite a shy person and I'd rather not do all that stuff. And I just remember sitting there very quietly and this chaos. It was like, you know, in a scene of a movie when there's a food fight and they sort of pan round and
Like
there's
a medieval banquet.
Exactly. And there's like a nan sat in the corner going, oh, or like trying to crawl out on all fours and find it. That was me. It was loud. Everyone was throwing things. I remember getting hit in the face with a bread roll, which isn't unusual. Every Saturday night in my house, someone chucks a bread roll at me. But it was just very odd and so much booze and then dancing on the tables and then singing and a bit sweary.
You've all got to wear the same outfit or the same, you know, T-shirt but they go to all sorts of I'm sounding really like I can't believe it. They go to so many places now.
Yes, they do.
I mean, they have stag do's, so they have an abroad stag do.
An abroad, yes, I've heard of an abroad one. So in fact, I was talking to someone.
And then they do one here.
And what's that?
I don't know.
I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago and she said, oh, I've got my friend's hen. And I said, oh, how lovely, what are you doing? And she said, oh, we're going to, and it was somewhere like beautiful, like Croatia for a week. And I'm like, Croatia for a week? Yeah. And then when we come back, we're having I'm thinking Croatia for a week. That's your family holiday.
Well, and also it must be so expensive.
How do people do it?
I don't know.
And is there
Honestly, don't know.
pressure? I mean, if you say to, your sister or your best friend, well, I can't afford to do that for a week, or I don't fancy it, or I don't like anyone else who's going, so therefore I don't want to waste a week's holiday, it must cause fallouts.
I know. I mean, I just don't understand it. I held out hope during COVID that people would drop these things that are so ridiculous. But then perhaps it's not ridiculous to other people.
Might be us, Pen.
It's just us.
Might be us.
Yeah.
And actually, I suppose, I think I also hoped that COVID might calm people down. But don't forget, we've had our lives. So anyone who is young and hasn't been able to go out or explore or travel.
Do you mean we've had our lives?
You know what I mean.
Oh, for goodness sake. I have got so many things on my not bucket list, but things I want to do, that it's going to take me forever.
I didn't mean we were reaching the end. Let me rephrase. I kind of meant we've had our flush of youth. We've done all those things. We've travelled, we've snogged, we've worn platform heels.
But I'm using eye cream. I know how young I look.
And you do. But I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't judge people who are excited to be back out in the world, is what I'm saying.
True.
Yeah.
I do understand what you're saying, but I still wouldn't spend £10,000 on a dress that I'm going to wear once.
Oh, I wouldn't. No.
I wouldn't spend £3,000 on a dress I'm going to wear once.
I want to spend 300, mate, but then maybe I'm a bit tight.
You are.
I know. But I went to, when I got married, we did it in our lunch hour. I know I've mentioned this already. But when I chose my outfit, Simeon said, what are you going to wear? I said, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. He said, we've got to get something to wear. I went up the Mall, which is, the Cribs Causeway Mall near where we live, a little drive from here. And he said, I'm going to take the boys to choose a video game. Is that what they called? A video game? Back in the day. And I went into John Lewis and I just walked around and thought, oh, that's all right, that'll do. Don't need to try it on and size, that's fine. So I bought a coat dress, paid for it. It cost me 65 quid. Went and stood outside Game for 30 minutes while they chose a video game. Simeon came out and went, what are you doing? I went, what are you doing? He said, well, the boys are choosing a game. I said, I've been here half an hour. He said, you must have bought that dress within 8 minutes. I said, I did. I just walked in, saw it, thought, that's fine. Bought that, out I came. He's like, do you not give it any more thought than that? I was like, why? It didn't occur to me why it was important.
No.
And I looked marvellous.
Oh,
I looked marvellous. But no one was really caring. No one remembers.
Well, yeah, but then you see, I mean, the fact that you have photographs taken.
I didn't.
You didn't have any photographs.
We did.
Most people do.
We did one selfie ourselves on a big stretchy out arm of me and Simeon, and then another one of me and Simeon, and that was it. I think we got a couple of the day.
But that is unusual.
I think we are unusual. I've still got the dress.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think that is unusual, but I just think let's just tone things down a bit.
I think remove the pressure. I think for me, it's about everyone can do whatever they want to make them happy. I get that. And if it's something you've longed for since you were a young person and it's your dream or it's your parents' dream, a lot of people do it for other people, don't they? For other reasons. I get it. I think do whatever. But for me personally, take the pressure off yourself. Save the money. Have a lovely holiday.
Yeah, I know, but they won't, because I think peer pressure is such that if their group of friends have a marquee and do this and that and everything, then they want to do it as well.
And what, like doing it for the gram?
Oh, yes.
As we say,
Ooh.
as the kids say.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. But yeah, it just doesn't, I think we're all different, aren't we?
Yeah.
How we want to spend our money.
Yeah, of course. And maybe that's the one day you feel like a princess or special or whatever it is you want. And that's your absolute right to feel that way.
What I've never been able to understand is why these girls and the guys really, so they have their one special day of getting married and they end up having makeup that they never normally would have.
Oh, yeah.
They have a hairdo that they have never had before. That they've never had before in their lives.
Yeah.
And then they wear a strapless dress that they've never worn before in their lives. And, they think, I mean, I'm sure they feel great, but it quite often doesn't look like them.
That's actually very important. And I think that's why you can have a little rehearsal, can't you?
Yeah.
But I obviously, my makeup's minimal unless I'm working, and I'm not that good at doing it, to be honest, anymore. But I always feel, you can see when a bride doesn't feel or look comfy because she's got a load of slack
and her
on.
dress is constantly falling down.
Got to be comfy, haven't you?
Yeah. But then, they want to feel like a princess.
Yes, absolutely. And that is their right.
I remember doing a wedding once, and because of our normal weather, of course.
Weather? Penny? Weather?
The boys had all decided, there was a group of something like 8 of them, including both the fathers and uncles and groomsmen and ushers and all of this. And they all had bought these beautiful wool suits, plus tartan waistcoats.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Yes, looked absolutely fantastic.
By
Of
wool,
course.
you don't mean knitted. Like
No. Wool as in,
I know.
like a woolen suit.
Yes, woolen. Yes, lovely.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Do I mean worsted?
What? Worsted? Worsted?
Worsted.
What?
Worsted.
Worsted?
Isn't
Worcester?
that worsted?
Worsted sauce.
Worsted. Worsted. Isn't that a type of wool?
It might be, Penny.
I don't know. How useless am I?
Someone needs to let us know.
So they all looked very smart until, of course, as the day progressed, it was something crazy like 28 degrees, and all these guys were having to stand there having photographs taken in these 3-piece suits. And the photographs, all you could see were these red faces with sweat dripping off the top of their heads.
That's a wedding that's been booked and planned in January.
Yes.
And no one's thought about it.
And they were all baked. So by the time they got to the reception, everybody had stripped off down to their shirts.
Oi, oi.
Yeah. Which, slightly spoilt the photographs. But,
But they were comfy.
Yes.
I was contacted this week by someone who asked me if I ever listened to a true crime podcast. So I was like, oh no, what is that really? I don't really know. And they were saying that there's a huge trend for true crime in both book reading and podcast listening. And that for me was such a shocker, because that is probably the thing I would avoid at all costs.
Ooh.
Oh,
We're
Pen.
2 sides of the table.
Hello.
You and I.
Hello.
We are 2 sides of the table.
Literally.
I love it.
Do you?
Give me a book with a headless corpse.
Oh my God.
Oh yes. I love a murder mystery. And we are tending to watch in the very little time that we ever have to watch TV.
When you're not in your bath.
Yeah, when I'm not in the bath.
Yeah.
Actually, we nearly had a TV put in the bathroom.
Please don't do that. You'd feel like you're in the Premier Inn every time you got in there.
But I love it when we go to watch something and it says, this is based on a true story. Oh my goodness. It just makes it 3 times as good.
But the sort of the gore or the darkness, don't you feel that it's kind of, gawping at someone else's misery?
Oh, that's interesting. Never really thought about gawping. Gawping.
See,
Don't you have that word?
I
Gawping.
always feel, so I'm one of these people, if I drive past an accident on the motorway,
Oh, I know.
I put a hand up so I don't even see a blue light. I don't want to
Awful.
see, I don't want to know, I don't want to think, because I think that is a moment, even if it's not a terrible thing, that is a moment where someone's life is irrevocably changed, and the people that they love, their lives are irrevocably changed. And I don't want to know. Maybe I'm just cowardly.
Yes, but I think if you were talking about watching a programme where it was, I can't think of a situation, but I could understand you don't want to be revelling, is perhaps the wrong word, but you don't want to be watching it going, ooh, this is good. But I do find these documentaries fascinating.
So do you sort of enjoy the forensic side of it, where they're sort of getting to the bottom of it? Is that
how
what you
they
like?
find out how these things happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I do find that. Did I ever tell you that when I was little, do you remember Quincy?
Of course I do. Quincy.
Oh my goodness, I used to love that programme.
With the big queue at the beginning, yeah.
To explain to those of you who are under 55, Quincy was a slightly dog-eared, moth-eaten...
Portly? Can we say portly?
Yes, probably. Not terribly... I mean, he wasn't attractive or anything like that.
Well, some people might have found Quincy attractive, Penny.
And he was a pathologist.
He was.
And weirdly, it's a bit like the silent witness of the 70s.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, really?
Yes, but less, I would say, less cerebral.
Yes. And I, as a very young person...
Weirdo.
Used to watch this, and I always used to say, when I grew up, I want to be a pathologist. Yes, I know, crazy. Then, of course, I got sensible and wanted to be a speech therapist. We've talked about that.
We have. Where you ended up in the cupboard at Bath Sports Centre. In fact, quick side story here. I was on a train a few weeks ago heading to Chichester. I think I mentioned it. I went past Bath Sports Centre and I forgot I was on a train and went, oh, that's where Penny was in the cupboard.
I spent many an hour in that cupboard.
Straight back to my book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where were we going with this?
Quincy. Pathologist.
Yes. But now, of course, Netflix, you can see all sorts of forensic-based programs. And the fact that they're true, we definitely like to watch the ones that say, this is based on a true story.
Yeah. See, I absolutely avoid anything like that. I think I'm quite squeamish, but also because, and I know this sounds really, really daft, but because I have such a brilliant memory, anything that will affect me is in my head for the foreseeable future. It's not as though I'm going to see something, oh, I didn't like that, and by tomorrow it's gone. For me, that will be something that will be on repeat, or that I will have to process again and again and again. It's almost like a sort of trauma button that keeps flashing, and it's quite uncomfortable for me.
But also quite weird.
Quite weird, I know, but it is something that I do. And I've always done it. So, for example, I remember when the Yorkshire Ripper, as he was horribly known, Peter Sutcliffe, the serial killer, the murderer, and I'm sure there isn't anyone listening who doesn't know who the Yorkshire Ripper is, but for those of you who don't, he was committing murders around the 80s of women, always women, I think. I don't think he killed any men, did he?
There was recently, wasn't there? There was a really, really good programme.
That's what I was going to say. And I thought, there is no way I can watch that, because I remember at the time being petrified of just any news snip. And then when eventually there was that terrible hoax, wasn't there? There was a guy where the guy sent a voice recording purporting to be him, and it diverted police funds and it diverted police activity to no avail. It was all awful. When they finally got him, the picture of his face, I can still, I'm sure we can all see it with that hair and the beard, and it was very, very striking. And I found it, even though I was only a young kid, I found it quite traumatising, just the prospect that it was out there. And I remember saying, what has he done and who is it? And it was the first time I remember someone saying, oh, he's a serial killer. It's like, what's that?
Yeah.
And someone said to me, oh, it's he's killed lots of women. I was like, is that a thing? Horrible.
But also the programme that has recently been on, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
It was so good, but I think where it was interesting was the facts that obviously since the actual murders were committed, the things that they found out, they can put into that programme so that we get to hear about it. Because obviously at the time, all the press coverage, you only get to know a certain amount because it's all going through. And of course now, 20, 30 years down the line, you get to see all the reasons why he wasn't picked up that first time.
Yes.
And how the police missed this. And then...
Because they were sexist and slightly corrupt, and lazy.
Yes, exactly.
And also, I know I read a couple of articles that came out around the programme, I think, even though I haven't seen it. And one thing I do remember, and I've always felt over the years, is that the women he killed were really poor victims. They were terrible victims. And yet they were painted as, maybe... women, because a lot of them worked in the sex industry, they were sex workers, they were kind of tarnished, and there was almost like, well, it was only a person who did that for a living, which for me is just the most horrific. A, they weren't all sex workers, but B, even if they were, let's not forget, they were just victims, and no one wants to be a bloody sex worker, you know what I mean?
I think that was very much addressed in that programme.
Okay, that's interesting.
It definitely levelled the playing field with regard to that.
Okay, that's interesting.
We will post what the name of the programme was, and I can see the actor in it now, the detective that actually finally... I can
see his face, but I can't remember his
think
name.
Of his name. Toby.
No, can't remember.
Somebody. Yeah. Anyway.
So you watched it, did you, Penny?
Yes, and it was really fascinating. Very sad. Of course it was sad.
God, yeah.
It was horrendous what he did.
Well, the chances to get him, that's what's so terrible.
Yeah.
That people died, women died, and they didn't need to.
But I think that's why I like watching those. When I say I like, obviously you're not sitting there gleeful, but I find it fascinating.
Do you read those books as well?
Not true crime books, but I do love, as I say, Headless Corpse. So I do read a lot of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, really. I don't know. But then it depends on how you're feeling as to what type of book you read.
Very true. Very true.
I know there are people who will only read a particular type of book,
Yeah.
whereas I know I need to read an Amanda Prowse.
Oh, bless you, Pen.
I need to read it because that's how it makes me feel.
Plus, I'd be angry if you didn't, and I like to quiz you on it. And if you haven't got the answers, that would be awkward.
But I need to read it because at that moment in what's happening in life, I need to read it. At other times, I need to read a different type of book.
Yeah, I like that.
I have yet, this is going to sound terrible, I need people to send me messages. I need you to do a bit of homework. I want to read a book that's going to make me laugh out loud.
Oh, there's a challenge.
Through the whole book, please.
I love that. All the feels. I learnt that, Pen. All the feels.
Oh, sounds very trendy.
I think we kind of do that, don't we?
So there were bits I really laughed at in Very, Very Lucky.
Oh,
which was the one a little while ago.
Soft scoop ice cream for anyone. When you know, you know.
Yes, soft scoop. Literally, that was the bit I laughed at.
I get people sending me messages just going, I'm never going to look at soft scoop ice cream in the same way again. And for those who haven't read it, they won't know what we're talking about, but it's quite a funny scene.
It is funny. That made me laugh out loud. There have been, as I've said before, I belong to a book club, and occasionally somebody will propose a book and we'll go, oh, that'll be funny. Let's read that one. It'll be funny. And I'm always disappointed. I wonder if my funny bone just disappears when I'm reading a book.
I think it's just if you expect it to be funny.
Perhaps that's what it is.
See, I like to, when I use humour when I'm writing, I think if I'm writing something that's quite dark or quite sad, and Very, Very Lucky is essentially a book about grief, but it is quite light and it is quite humorous and very hopeful. I think it's like, it's just real life, isn't it? You need to balance it. You can't have one tone going throughout. And let's face it, even in dark moments, we all find things that are funny, don't we?
Well, it's black humour, isn't it, really?
Coping mechanism.
Coping, yes.
You know,
and it's often the funniest things.
Yeah.
When you're supposed to be really serious.
Well, that's when I find I go.
Yes.
When I'm not allowed to.
Yes.
Or when someone's telling me something really sad, I think, oh my God, I've got to really try. I don't find it funny. It's like a nervous reaction to laugh. It's awful.
I know, it can be terrible. But I just find books very difficult to judge.
Yeah.
And I just can't remember reading a book and giggling my way through it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
To say.
Yeah. So let me know. Let me know. I would like a funny book, please.
Yeah, please do. Any suggestions or anything good you're reading you want to share with us, or any views or any questions, again, on anything that we have covered. Because as ever, Pen, we have rattled to the end of another episode. They go fast, don't they, darling?
They do go fast.
They really do go fast. Thank you so much for listening to us. Do join in. Send us your comments via our Instagram page would be great, which is
at the Chit Chatters.
And as Penny might have mentioned earlier on, do hit the follow or the
subscribe button.
Pen, you see,
I'm getting so good at it.
I think you're warmed up by the time you have to say it a second time.
I think that's what it is.
But thank you for tuning in. And yes, if anyone wants to listen to any of our backlist of podcasts, you can do so from wherever you listen to yours. Until next time, take care.
Bye.